She then, at that point, shows up live at her work environment, which ends up being a bank. Once inside, she meets the bank director, Akif, who asks regarding the reason why she's late anyway. Delara blows up and starts shouting that she's not Handin yet, a popular entertainer named Delara. Yet some way or another, Akif seems to accept her and says that he needs to take her someplace. And when they arrive at the edges of town, Akif removes his garments and requests that she please him. Delara is nauseated by this and requests he put on his garments. Yet all of a sudden, Akif uncovers that they've been having an unsanctioned romance for quite a while, and that he's even found where they can take off together. That night, Delara's parents-in-law and family members appear at go to a supper. They're enraged on the grounds that she couldn't in fact prepare a decent dinner. Yet Nakati attempts to legitimize her blunders by guaranteeing that she's worn out. All of a sudden, Akif shows up at the house and Alara finds that he's the spouse of Nakati's sister. Winding up in such a muddled circumstance, Delara falls off the deep end, so she runs from that point and secures herself in the restroom. Detecting something's off base, her relatives likewise pursue her and start beating on the washroom entryway. In a snapshot of frenzy, Delara puts on the Belinda cleanser, hoping to be shipped back to the real world anyway. Nothing occurs, and Nakadi and Akif wind up crushing the restroom entryway. The following day, Delara is taken to a mental center where she keeps on demanding that she isn't Hand in that frame of mind. To clarify that she's an entertainer for a gathering of specialists and medical attendants, by reenacting a scene from her most prestigious work, yet the whole room is unconvinced by her pitiful exertion and accepts she's crazy, and when they don't accept her, Delara turns into somewhat forceful, because of which she's restricted for therapy. The specialists spot her in a room where she needs to peer through the window the entire day and get through the distress of residing as another person. One day, while sitting close to different patients, an elderly person starts talking with Delara. The lady illuminates her that to leave this spot, she should have her impact and start imagining this. Quickly affects Delara, who feels freed and devises an arrangement. She confesses to the specialist. She was crazy previously, yet presently, due to their therapy, she comprehends reality, and after she gets back home, Delara starts to conform to her new life as a wife and mother. A couple of days after the fact, her significant other attempts to lay down with her once more, yet Delara gives her best for deny him anyway. Nakati, in the end, takes her and pulls her to bed. Yet their child enters and intrudes on the second. Delara then takes the kid with her and lays down with him, disturbing Nakati's expectations. The following day, Delara goes to meet her previous sweetheart, Serkan. The two then venture out on a brief siesta, and Delara attempts to make sense of that. They used to date in another reality. Serkan then again trusts that she's insane and accepts she should be one of his fans. She illuminates them that she's an entertainer who wishes to restart her vocation and make the progress she once had. Serkan then attempts to make the most of her and assumes her to his position, where they finish cozy, and after their Delara looks for some help from him, so Serkan consents to orchestrate a tryout for her. In the following scene, Delara shows up at the theater for a tryout which is organized by Serkan. This whole gathering has been Dolores' companions in her prior life, yet they never again perceive her. She then, at that point, conveys a remarkable exhibition, and thus, she's recruited for the job. Anyway, Delara conceals this report from her family and depends on her sister by marriage to go with her to the tryouts. One night, while getting back from a family cookout, Delara is cornered by her brother by marriage and assumed darling Akif. He requests cash from her that they recently laundered together. Delara then again has no clue about what's going on with him talking in cases. She lost her memory in the psychological establishment. Accomplished then uncovers that the men at the obscure organization found their robbery, and for that, they tormented him, with the end result of taking one of his eyes and taking steps to kill him in the event that he didn't return their cash. He reminds Delara that she's kept the cash in a calfskin sack and asks that she returned it right away, or he'll carry her into the wreck too. Yet all at once, Nakati makes an appearance to see what's happening, and Akif takes off from the scene. Over the course of the following couple of days, Delara keeps on playing out her obligations as a housewife, while additionally slipping into the theater for practices. One night, coming back from the theater, she is engaged with a mishap that makes her vehicle harm public property. Minutes after the fact, she observes that a message is left on her dashboard. The message reminds Delara that she has another day prior to the organization. Individuals show up to gather their cash, or they'll hurt her too when Delara arrives at home. Her significant other is worried about her wounds, Ultimately, she tells Nikati that she was in a mishap and apologizes for crashing their vehicle anyway. Nikati doesn't overemphasize it and urges her not to stress over the vehicle. This makes her day, and apparently Dilawri is currently acknowledged and embraced her new situation. Subsequently, she permits her better half to lay down with her, interestingly satisfying her job as a wife. Later, while they're being private, her sight is attracted to the area of the cash Dilara, then gets the cash from a secret compartment under some furniture in her room, and chooses to return it to the individuals from the organization. The following morning, Dilara composes a farewell letter to Nikati, saying thanks to him for all that. She then says farewell to the youngsters. All of a sudden, her girl unexpectedly. Do you want to see part 2 of this video? Subscribe to the channel and comment part 2. Thanks for watching. I would see you at part 2. He urges her to acknowledge the preparation at the vet facility, and furthermore tells her that he has booked a meeting with a specialist for IVF. Then Heavenly Messenger cleans up. Vane gets an instant message on her telephone. She feels a reverberation of the instant message notice. She goes after the PC and finds that everything related to her telephone shows up on the PC. She goes to gather her things. When Heavenly Messenger emerges from the restroom, he finds that she has left. He finds that she has found that he is keeping an eye on her. Following a while have passed, he goes to treatment meetings. The specialist asks him for what reason he didn't come. However, he didn't reply. After that, he goes to his home and finds the proprietor of the canine before the lift, where he let him know that his significant other and the canine had kicked the bucket after that. He observes New Year's Day alone. Then a shrewd idea happened to him. He goes in a taxi and monitors Vane. He figures out that she is dating his colleague, the driver. He keeps on watching them until they arrive at a child bed store, and he finds that she is pregnant. He goes to the drugstore and takes something. The following day, he goes to Vane. She attempts to drive him away, yet he advises her that he needs to bid farewell since she won't ever see him from now on. She is impacted by this and lets him know that she will go with him to his home. When they show up at his home, she lets him know that she needs to return. However, he tells her that he has arranged a case containing her possessions and her visa. She goes into the house with him. He tells her that he will make tea for her. She denied and requested that he carry her things to go. He shocks her with an inquiry. Did you love somebody? She gets confounded and asks him where her things are. He lets him know that her things are in the room. Close to the bed, she goes into the room and he takes a stylish infusion and follows her. He infuses her and she swoons when she recaptures cognizance. She finds that she is restricted with ropes. He plays a heartfelt melody, I can always remember you. Then he shuts the entryway and takes her telephone. He hears voice messages with her sweetheart. Then he goes to a lake and composes an instant message to him. I'm sorry, Ricardo, I can't have this child. Then he tosses the telephone in the lake and returns home. He allows her an opportunity to talk and tells her that he met Ricardo and learned through him that she is pregnant. She attempts to shout. However, he stops her and infuses her with a sedative while he was sleeping with her. His neighbor thumped on the entryway. His neighbor lets him know that there was a noisy music the previous evening. He lets him know that he persevered through his canine's irritating voice for a few days and expressed nothing after that. His neighbor gets some information about Vane, yet he lets him know that he has not seen her in a while. He let him know that he heard a shouting sound from inside the loft, yet he let him know that perhaps the sound was coming from another condo. However, he let him know that he had seen them some time back and they entered together. He let him know she took her things and left. The neighbor demands that the shouting sound came from inside Heavenly Messenger's loft. He let him know that he had a young lady with him, and he was humiliated to let him know. Many that he goes to finish his treatment meetings. Next, we watch Ricardo sitting tight. For Holy Messenger, he gets some information about Vane. Then he admits to him about his relationship with her. However, Holy Messenger lets him know that he is clueless about her. Then he pardons himself to leave. He strolls into his loft and awakens Vane. When she stirred, she felt that her body was incapacitated. She gets some information about how he treated her. He tells her not to stress, since this is because of sedation. She attempts to move yet neglects to do so. And afterward he plays heartfelt music. He was getting a charge out of watching her experience. After that, he finds that Ricardo has sent him voice messages requesting that he answer him. He compromises him that he will call the police on the off chance that he doesn't respond to him while having supper. He advises her that he needs to name the kid Heavenly Messenger, and that assuming that the child is a young lady, he will permit her to name her. She exploits it. and hits him with a glass on the head. She attempts to escape the room and shout, yet he finds her and infuses her. His neighbor thumps on the entryway and lets him know that he will call the police since he ensured that Vane was the one shouting. He gets some information about the reason for the injury in his mind, so Holy Messenger requests that he come in to see what's going on for himself. He finds Vane on the ground and tells her that he will call the police. However, Heavenly Messenger cuts him. Vane was stunned by everything she saw then. Heavenly Messenger considers somebody and says to him that he really wants his assistance when the individual shows up. He gives him cash and gold in return for cleaning the spot. To be sure he is completing the man of the structure. Sooner or later, the police come to Heavenly Messenger to ask him a few inquiries. They get some information about his relationship with Vane. He lets them know that she was his significant other, and that they used to live respectively. Then they told him if he knew Ricardo, he let them know it was a collaborator of his, where it worked out. That Ricardo was the person who informed the police since he was dubious of the instant message that contacted him from Vane. They asked him when he last saw her, and he lets them know it was 7 days. Do you want to see part 2 of this video? Subscribe to the channel and comment part 2. Thanks for watching. I would see you at part 2.